basically from civil service background. I had also been an assistant professor prior to my civil service stint, and I was also an NTSC scholar. Currently, I am a working faculty with Unacademy, which is the most happening place today in the field of quality online education. And today we are going to talk about cooperative federalism. जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हो कि हमारी जो राज व्यवस्था है वो एक फेडरल पॉलिटी है, यानी कि एक संघात्मक व्यवस्था है, लेकिन इसमें एकात्मक रुझान है. It has got unitary bias because under several special circumstances our polity tends to be unitary, but at the same time it is a federal structure. Or federal structure basically means that there is a clear-cut division of powers between the center and the states. Now, no federal polity can really work unless there is cooperation between the center on the one hand and the constituent states on the other. And this concept is known as cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism basically is known by different names. It is also known as marble cake federalism. Right. अब आज हम अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे what are the various implications of cooperative federalism, and इसी का जो कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री पार्ट है सॉरी इसका जो कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री पार्ट है दैट इज कम्पेटिटिव फेडरलिज्म की भी ब्रीफली आज मैं बात करूंगा, क्योंकि cooperative federalism would be incomplete unless the other side of cooperative federalism, that is competitive federalism, is also understood. So first of all, what I'm saying, let us understand the meaning of cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism, जैसा कि हम यहाँ देख रहे हैं, it is also known as marble cake federalism. It's a marble cake. The colors in the marble are spread out not only at the center but all around in the marble. So it is a kind of marble cake where it is defined as flexible relationship between the federal and the state governments in which both work together on a variety of issues and programs. अब एक सबसे बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट अंडरस्टैंड करने का है that whatever kind of polity we have, basically our complete political system is created to subserve the people and to achieve the objectives which are enshrined in the Constitution. That means that the ultimate goal is service to the people in every possible way, so that we are able to achieve the great ideas of justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, which are enshrined in our Constitution. And to achieve that, obviously, as I said, that cooperative federalism becomes a cornerstone. In fact, it is very much necessary. But at times, we also see bickering between the union and the states. We see that the states are demanding for more share in powers. They are demanding more financial assistance, and they are demanding more autonomy in every possible way. And this has been a recurrent phenomenon throughout, for last several decades. But what is remarkable to understand that Indian polity has shown quite a bit of resilience, and it has faced various challenges, big challenges in the past. Challenges to federalism and challenges to its unity, challenges to the national ethos of unity and integrity, and other challenges also, financial challenges, political challenges, social challenges, and diplomatic challenges. And we have faced all these challenges and we have come a long way. And we can rather now say largely that Indian federalism is largely a stable federalism. Although we are not the creation a federal creation like United States of America is. Because United States of America is created basically through integration, the process of integration. The originally 13 states, they agreed to create the federation. There was initially a confederation, but the confederal government was very weak and it was not able to sort out the problems of the states. And therefore, there was almost a rewriting of the American Constitution. I mean, they sat together and they decided that the confederation was not working, but they had to create a federal form of structure, a federal government. So federal government was given enormous powers so that it could sort out the problems of different states as well. And as a result of that, we see that federation or federalism came into existence in America. That was long, long years ago. That was towards the end of the 18th century. And we have come a long way. It means the world history has seen several vicissitudes and changes ever since. And now we have come a long way. And now Indian federalism, the kind of federalism we have, is not the result of integration of states or mutual agreements between constituent states. It is rather the result of disintegration. That when India was, India became free, India adopted a constitution, and in that constitution, we have several federal features. We have, division of powers in the seventh schedule of the constitution, and we have the legislative division, we have the administrative division, and financial division we have. And therefore, India definitely is a federal polity, but it has a unitary bias because under circumstances of emergency, for example, our complete system begins to behave like a unitary system. But under normal circumstances, in general, we are a federal polity. But we have, so to say, a very strong center at the same time, because central government has been given powers out of all proportions. It has great powers in the legislative sphere, it has great powers in the financial sphere, and it has great powers in the administrative sphere as well. So we find that this division is highly in favor of center. So in that respect, we can rather say that we are rather based on Canadian federation. The model which is followed in Canada is very close to what we follow as far as the federal part is concerned. And there also in Canada, there is a strong center, and residuary powers are not vested in provinces, but they are vested in the center. Same way, residuary powers in our case also are vested in the center. They are not vested in the states. But of course, in America, residuary powers are vested in the states, not in the federal government. So what I'm saying is that we find that our federation is the creation of a historical background, and it has been evolving. And states by and by have been having greater say. And by we have come to realize that our federation can really do fantastic job, because for the simple reason that ultimately that all the development work is done in the states. If the states are not strong enough, and if they are not able to voice the regional aspirations and the aspirations of the local people of the states, then definitely a state cannot prosper. It cannot achieve great heights. So for our state, like India, to achieve great heights, we have to necessarily make our constituent states strong. At the same time, they cannot be so strong that they overpower the center, because we have to stand as a nation, and we cannot promote or rather allow any kind of fissiparous tendencies, or the tendencies which are centrifugal in nature, or the tendencies which tend to assault the concept of unity and integrity of the nation. So obviously we have to have a united India, a great, wonderful, vibrant India, and for that purpose states have been given certain powers under the very scheme of constitution. This is also remarkable to understand that in the American Constitution, for example, the provincial powers are not mentioned. They are mentioning federal powers. But in the Canadian Constitution, they mention both the federal powers and the provincial powers. Similarly, our Constitution also mentions in a clear-cut manner, it divides, so to say, the powers between the center and the states. So in that regard, now I'm going to talk about this particular thing, that cooperative federalism, which is also known as marble cake federalism. Marble cake federalism is defined as a flexible relationship between the federal and the state governments in which both work together on a variety of issues and programs. So cooperative federalism, therefore, is a concept which reflects the relationship between the center and the states, where they both come together to resolve the common problems with each other's cooperation. So the whole idea is that to resolve, common problems associated with development, associated with administrative and political functioning, associated with financial um, functioning and financial cooperation. So they sort out common problems with each other's cooperation. No, there are several instances and several provisions which exist, which are related to cooperative federalism. Some of them I'm highlighting here. So, for example, the division of powers between the center and the states. I already mentioned that Constitution provides for this division under Schedule 7 of our Constitution, and it provides a strict delineation of powers between the center and the states, except during emergencies when the polity almost becomes unitary. However, this is also coming under judicial review. Means our judiciary, which is an independent judiciary, has been given these enormous powers to review. If there is a danger to this basic concept of federalism, and if emergency is arbitrarily imposed, then of course the very declaration of emergency is subject to judicial review. So that way, what we find is that the division of powers is supported by judicial review. It is supported by a strong, is supported by a constitution, which is a written constitution, and so to say, largely a rigid constitution, not a very flexible constitution. Because the federal provisions of the Constitution, if they are to be changed under Article 368 of the Constitution, then these federal provisions, any tampering with the federal provisions, may be concerned with the extent of the executive power of the states, or extent of the executive powers of the union, or the judiciary, the high courts, and or if it is concerned with the president, for that matter, like Article 54 or 55, or if it is concerned with the Gst Council, that is Goods and Services Tax Council, under Article 279A. So under all these situations, or if it is concerned with center-state relations, as given in Chapter 4 of Part 5 or Chapter 5 of Part 6, or Chapter 1 of Part 11, the center-state relations legislative powers are defined. So what I'm saying is that may it be concerned with the high courts, or may it be concerned with the Supreme Court, or may it be concerned with other federal matters, which are like the electoral college constitution for the president and the manner of election of the president, as given in Articles 54 and 55. So all these things, and also, like if there is some change to be brought in, for example, in Schedule 4, which talks about representation of various states in the upper house, that is Rajya Sabha. And if there is to be an amendment or change in Schedule 7, which talks about the division of powers between the center and the states, or if there is any change at all to be brought about in the Article 368 itself, which talks about the amendment of the Constitution. So all these particular federal features will require not only a special majority of the parliament, but also it will require ratification of at least 50% of the state legislature. That means that 20 out of 28 states, 14 states, the legislatures of 14 states must ratify and concur to the changes which are federal in nature. So what I'm saying is that we have a constitution which is delineated and laid out in a very meticulous way the division of powers, and which has also ensured that the federal component of the constitution doesn't wither away and doesn't go away just like that. For that matter, I mean, Constitution itself safeguards federalism in several ways, which I mentioned just now briefly. And there is also a provision of judicial review if there is arbitrariness on the part of the center, or if a law is enacted by the center which is unreasonable, or which is against the tenets of federalism, or which does not satisfy the basic structure of the Constitution, then it can be challenged, or it can be reviewed by the judiciary, or I mean, states can also challenge that law, as was done in one particular instance where the National Investigation Agency Act of 2018 was challenged 2020 by one of the states. I will just give you the example of that how Chhattisgarh challenged that. So what I'm saying is that uh, these instances prove beyond doubt that federalism in India is a cooperative federalism, and it is also a competitive federalism, and it is largely a constitutional federalism, because constitution itself safeguards several parts and several features of federalism in more ways than one. So what I'm saying, students, is that let's first of all have a look at the distribution of legislative powers between the center and the states. Now, these powers clearly are laid out in the Constitution, and the Constitution provides for threefold distribution of legislative subjects between the center and the states. That is, list one, which is the union list; list two, which is the state list; and list three, which is the concurrent list in the seventh schedule. And the Parliament has exclusive power to make laws with respect to any of the matters enumerated in the union list, for that matter. And the list, which has at present 98 subjects, originally it had 97 subjects, and the important subjects like defense, banking, foreign affairs, currency, atomic energy, insurance, communication, interstate trade and commerce, and census, audit, they are all included in the union list. Similarly, if we talk about the state list, the state legislature has enormous circumstances, right? Exclusive powers to make laws with respect to any of the matters which are enumerated in the state list, and this is at present 59 subjects. Originally, it had 66 subjects when the Constitution was promulgated, and these subjects include, for example, public order. One of the very vital subjects, public order. It forms a part of the state list or the list two, and police and public health and sanitation, agriculture, prisons, local government, fisheries, markets, theaters, and gambling, and these all form part of the state list. And both the parliament and the state legislatures can make laws with respect to any of the matters which are enumerated in the concurrent list. Concurrent list is an interesting thing. This concept of concurrent list is also found in Australian Constitution, and concurrent list basically means that center as well as the state legislatures have concurrent legislative powers. Concurrent means they can both make laws on these subjects. But if there is a conflict between a central law and a state law, then the central law would prevail, not the state law. And that means if there is a repugnancy, right, between the two laws, then to the extent of repugnancy, the state law would be invalid, or the central law would prevail, in other words. This list has got at present 52 subjects, and originally it had 47 subjects, like criminal law and procedures, civil procedure, marriage and divorce, and population control, and family planning, and electricity, labor welfare, economic and social planning, drugs, newspapers, books and printing press, and now so forth and so on. And the 42nd Amendment Act 1976 transferred 5 subjects to concurrently, right, from the state list. Now, this is a remarkable thing to understand, that there was felt a great necessity to bring from the state placed to the concurrent list these 5 specific subjects, like the education, forest, weights and measures, protection of wild animals and birds, and administration of justice. The constitution and organization of all courts except the Supreme Court and the High Court. So you see that this rather is a remarkable feature, that by a constitutional amendment act, it is possible to transfer the subjects from one list to another, right? And that was done by the 42nd Amendment Act in 1976. And important subjects like education and forest, weights and measures, and the administration of justice, constitution and organization of all courts except the Supreme Court and the High Courts, they were all brought under, they were brought to concurrent list. These 5 subjects were concurrent list from the state list. So that means that the central government equipped itself with more legislative powers that time. And Parliament has power to make laws with respect to any matter for any part of the territory of India not included in a state, or even though the matter is one which is enumerated in the state list. And this provision has reference to, union territories or the acquired territory. Then 101st Amendment Act 2016, it has made a special provision with respect to GST, that is Goods and Services Tax, and according to the Parliament and the state legislatures have powers to make laws with respect to Goods and Services Tax imposed by the Union or by the state. So they have got concurrent powers here, although this is not a subject matter of concurrent list, but they have got concurrent powers, and provisions have been made under Article 246A and 279A separately in this regard. Further, the Parliament has exclusive power to make laws with respect to Goods and Services Tax where the supply of goods or services or both take place in the course of interstate trade or commerce. So when it comes to interstate trade or commerce, in that case, Parliament is the exclusive jurisdiction. And at the same time, the power to make laws with respect to residuary subjects. I already mentioned to you that residuary subjects are the ones which are not enumerated in any of the 3 lists, and these powers are vested in Parliament or in the center. And this residuary power of legislation includes the power to levy residuary taxes. Please remember that financially also, like the financial distribution is there, but if there is any residuary tax which is not mentioned in the constitution, then this residuary tax would be the prerogative of the central government, means the Parliament, and not that of the state legislatures. And from the above scheme, it is clear that the matters of national importance and the matters which require uniformity of legislation nationwide, they are included in the union list. And the matters of regional and local importance and the matters which permit diversity of interest, they are specified in the state list. And the matters on which uniformity of legislation throughout the country is desirable but not essential, right, they are enumerated in the concurrent. So the basic philosophy behind this division, therefore, is the necessity and desirability. That if uniformity is required or desired throughout the country, if it is desired, but not absolutely required. If it is absolutely required, then it is a part of the union list. But if it is desired, but not necessarily essential, in that case, it is a part of the concurrent list. So thus it permits diversity along with uniformity. For example, in America, only the powers of the federal government are enumerated in the Constitution, and the residuary powers, they are left to the states. You already know that. And the Australian Constitution follows the American pattern of single enumeration of powers. In Canada, on the other hand, there is a double enumeration, federal and provincial, and the residuary powers are vested in the center. Now, original jurisdiction, another instance, we are talking about cooperative federalism, and another instance of that original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court under Article 131, for that matter, of the Constitution, which gives it the exclusive jurisdiction to hear cases between the states and the center, right? Center on one hand, states on the other, or few states on one hand, few states on another, or few states on one hand and few states or center on another. So that is what is known as the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court under Article 131, which is, a wide-ranging meaning and implication. And under this, federal polity is protected to a great extent because the states can move the Supreme Court in case if the federal provisions are violated by some legislation or orders or parts of the central government. Now, this means that the states can also move the Supreme Court against the center, particularly in those cases where they feel that their federal domain has been violated, right? For example, Chhattisgarh, I just gave you the example, it moved Supreme Court against National Investigation Agency Act of 2018 in 2020, right? And of course, its contention was that it was ultra vires of constitution because National Investigation Agency would eventually make use of the police forces, which are a part of the state list, right? So how could, without the consent of the states, central government could make a law which would require utilization of the state police forces, right, without the consent of the states? Anyway, so what I'm saying is that this goes without saying and proves beyond doubt that states can challenge, at least in principle, right? That means they have a say. That means there is a forum. So this illustrates that that federalism is strong in India in more ways than one. It is also strong in several instances, like the dominance of regional parties in some parts of the country. Particularly after 1967, regional parties started emerging in a big way. And we know that the regional parties have tremendous influence. We know the recent example of Bengal. We know the example of Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, the example of Kerala, and a whole lot of other states where the regional parties, like Punjab, regional parties are playing a dominant role at times, right? And therefore, that federalism in more ways than one is strengthened by that. And coalition governments now, it has increased the state's bargaining power at the same time, because when there is no party having clear-cut majority at the center, and there is a coalition government, and coalition partners may come from regional state parties which have won some seats in parliament also, then that gives them enormous bargaining power and in the formation of government, and therefore they get to have a greater say in the policy formulation and decision making process at the center. So, and then the use of Article 356, for example, it was for a long time arbitrarily used at times for political purposes, at times even for indistinct purposes, so which were disputable. So, like this was challenged by S.R. Bomai in S.R. Bomai case, S.R. Bomai versus Union of India case, where when the presidential rule was imposed in Karnataka by the central government and it was challenged, then Supreme Court in a landmark judgment, S.R. Bomai versus Union of India in 1994, had given clear-cut guidelines that how and under what circumstances president rule should be imposed. Of course, it had upheld the imposition of president rule in that state on secular grounds. But what I'm saying is that this judgment, this S.R. Bomai versus Union of India judgment of 1994, that way is a remarkable judgment because it laid down guidelines to be followed by the center, under which it can proclaim state. It can proclaim state emergency, or what is popularly known as president's rule in that state, right? So, in relation to the imposition of president's rule under Article 356 of the Constitution, federalism is far more mature than what it used to be earlier, particularly after the S.R. Bomai versus Union of India judgment of 1994. Now, students, before I proceed further, I want to bring to your notice that there is a massive hike in prices of Unacademy subscriptions likely. Now, already 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year subscriptions, this price hike, subscription prices, as you can see that highly subsidized, highly discounted prices are there. And from 9th of December already there has been some price hike. and from 16th of December, another price hike is expected, and there's a mega price hike expected anytime soon. So what I'm saying that this is high time and that you join an academic platform for your civil service preparations and state civil service preparations also. And this, of course, today is the most vibrant and most happening platform and the largest platform so far as the quality online education for civil services is concerned. And here, of course, the main reason for that is that top educators of the country are now associated with Unacademy in an increasing in an increasingly to say increasing way. And you can make use of my referral code there, VN10. You can use this referral code. If you use this referral code, you become entitled for 10% additional discount, and also you become entitled for a whole lot of other benefits, including your entry into the combat, which is an online quiz periodically held. Here you can win up to 100% scholarship. So what I'm saying that this annual price hike is there, and the UPSC batches now, we have 2022 batches, and these all batches are starting from 15th of December, and 10th December already started many of the batches, and from 15th of December we are starting these batches in a big way. And you can see the top educators of the country, they are associated with you, and you get to have the benefit of association with them. And of course, this is high time for you that way to decide on this. As you can see that now expedition 2-year batch courses for general studies, UPSC and English. So here you can see that I'm also represented. So what I'm saying is that this is high time for you that you get associated and you use this VN10, my referral code, and you get to have a whole lot of benefits once you use this referral code. Now, what I'm saying, students, is that for optionals also, now optional carnival, 6 optional courses launching 8th of December already, and 4 more optional courses launching 15th of December. So you get to have the patronage of and the guidance of the top educators in this regard, right? Like my friend Rajanish, he has been associated with history for last 25 years, as I have been associated with civil service mentoring and coaching for more than 25 years. Imagine, like, as many of my students are in civil service, and many of them are in senior positions, right? So what I'm saying is that you get to have the guidance from highly experienced educators of the country today, right? And that is one great advantage to you, which you cannot overlook in the present circumstances. In the country, the best coaching which can provide you at minimal prices, the best guidance, best content, quality content is undoubtedly Unacademy. And I'm not saying so because I belong to Unacademy. No. I'm saying so because you can see the results, right? And also you can see that the wide choice you get to have, because you can choose that which particular educator you want to learn from, right? And you can have greater association with that educator, and a more of guidance from the educators is possible. So what I'm saying is, we also have one iconic program where by paying some extra charges you can have a whole lot of benefits, including your systematic planning and test series and qualitative content and more association with mentors. So what I'm saying that this free test series you get to have with 1 year plus subscription, and there, of course, you have every Monday this 20 MCQs, 20 minutes language, Hindi and English you can have, and a whole lot of concepts which are being developed by educators are being passed on to the students who are joining the courses. Then, of course, now I was talking about this combat, which is a very unique scholarship contest. Basically, 12th of December, we had this combat 11 a.m. and of course, periodically we keep conducting this. So you can have scholarships up to 4 crore rupees, and you can have up to 100% scholarship, right? So what I'm saying is that you use this code VN10, and you use this code, you get to have enrollment free for combat, and you can win scholarship based on your ability and enthusiasm, right? So what I'm saying that you can level up your UPSC preparation with iconic subscriptions also. There, we have the live mentoring, number one, study planner, number two, main questions and answer practice, and a whole lot of things we get to have for the benefit of the candidates. Now, I was talking about the financial relationship between the union and the states, and how cooperative federalism is reflected or manifested there. Now, we have Gst Council. I already told you that Article 279A, it talks about Goods and Services Tax Council, which is the highest body deciding on various policies concerned with the goods and services tax. And here, passing of the GST is a shining example of cooperative federalism, where the states and the center have ceded their powers to tax and come up with a single tax system to realize the dream of one economic India with one nation, one market. So you see that we can work towards a stronger India, a better India, with the concept, with this great idea of one nation, one market, becoming a reality through goods and services tax, and the exemplary cooperation which has been shown and illustrated and manifested by our states with the union in GST. Now, many of the states actually had to lose their part of their revenues because of this, and of course, to compensate for that, the Parliament passed the Compensation Act also, and they haven't been permitted; they've been duly compensated for that. So what I'm saying is that goods and services tax, therefore, is a great example that we have brought about this from 1st of July 2017, and then this is in practice for more than 4 years now, and it is proven beyond doubt that cooperative federalism is a cornerstone of Indian polity. And the 10th Finance Commission, the state share has been continuously increasing since the 10th Finance Commission. And we know that the 14th Finance Commission, it devolved 42%, called vertical devolution. And then the 15th Finance Commission, it devolved 41%, which is almost the same as 42%. But this 1% reduction, of course, is because Jammu and Kashmir is no longer a state, but it is a union territory now, after the reorganization of the Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, as we all know. Therefore, that this devolution has been constantly increasing, vertical devolution, we call that. And this clearly proves the good intention of the center to strengthen federalism in the country and to ensure that there is cooperative federalism. This is also the intent of Niti Aayog, which is manifested in all its policies and programs, and the way it is planning and the way it is devolving many of the functions to states. And now there is a completely new concept of planning in India that is called bottom-up planning. So instead of top-down approach, now we are following bottom-up approach, which is very actively encouraged by the Niti Aayog, right? So there the states and even the local governments, like local urban bodies, they get to have a good say, right, in planning their own future for their own prosperity. So what I'm saying is that this is a great and shining example, the devolution made by the Finance Commission in last, ever since the 10th Finance Commission, And the Finance Commission, as we know, is for 5 years. So we have had 15 Finance Commissions so far. And we have seen that this trend of, increasing devolution is only strengthened. And this shows that, as I said, that cooperative federalism has become the very cornerstone of inequality today. And then there are other areas also, like the formation and functioning of the Niti Aayog. I just mentioned to you that Niti Aayog is one of the great bodies which has been conceptualized and which has been brought into existence. And Niti Aayog, ever since 2016, has been ceaselessly working to truly transform India into a vibrant and prosperous and united and a great nation, right? And it has, so to say, highly been successful in more ways than one in that regard. Of course, that we can separately analyze. You can watch my other videos about it, and you can see that the work which Niti Aayog has done is really remarkable work. And this is a great conceptualization. The very name Niti itself means that National Institution for Transforming India. So it is basically with the intention to transform India into a more vibrant and prosperous and strong nation in the Committee of Nations in the world. And in that direction, Niti Aayog has done indeed remarkable job. Now here, what I'm saying is that replacing the erstwhile Planning Commission, which was rather a completely central body and which always adopted, one-size-fits-all approach, right, and which was a rather top-down approach followed by the central government. It used to make plans, and states were supposed to follow the plans after they were approved by the National Development Agency, and they were approved by the government, right? So what I'm saying is that the Niti Aayog, on the other hand, is promoting what is known as bottom-up approach of planning and development. And so this is a great concept, and this is a very positive step in the direction of cooperative federalism, and the very sense of sabka saath, sabka vikas. Now, this you might have often heard the Prime Minister, talking about sabka saath, sabka vikas, which is a great concept, and this is being talked about for the first time in Indian political firmament. And with the great vision and leadership of our Prime Minister, he has actually fostered this concept of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas in a big way. And he has not only strengthened India in a big way, he has also strengthened the position of India in the international firmament, in the international, perception. And he has raised, so to say, the name and the glory of India everywhere in the world. So this could become possible because of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas concept, which he has actually not only cherished, but he has actually implemented it, as is visible in all the activities which the central government is constantly engaged with, and active being promoted by the center. It involves states as equal partners of development, and there is a move towards competitive and cooperative federalism. So you see that states are not merely subsidiary units of our political system, but they are equal partners in the overall process of national development. And this concept by itself is a great concept, looking at the fact that in the initial years of the working of Indian Constitution, there was too much of centralization, and too many things which rather made the states almost completely dependent, rather in more ways than one, upon the center. For every small thing also, states were highly dependent on the center. But now with increasing devolution, and with strengthening of the federal institutions, as is manifested also by the establishment of Niti Aayog, by the functioning of Niti Aayog, by the functioning of the government departments now at the center and the states, and by a very uh, positive approach in strengthening these federal institutions at various levels, right? So this goes without saying that the concept of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, which is being actively promoted and practiced by the present government, has been a great concept in strengthening India and cooperative federalism in more ways than one in our country. So then, of course, there are so many challenges in cooperative federalism. It is not without challenge. You see that cooperative federalism, or any political concept for that matter, or any constitutional tenet, or any constitutional, so to say, specific dimension for that matter, is not free of challenges. And so is cooperative federalism. And several issues such as trust deficit and shrinkage of divisible pool flag center-state relations, and together they make a total cooperation difficult. Right? So many issues are there. And on the one hand, center has increased the state share of the divisible pool, but in reality, the states are getting a lesser share. Right? If you look at it, right? Now, for instance, as per the 16th Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission recommendations, many southern states are not losing sight of their share of tax resources. Right. So what I'm saying is that we can find that uh, although devolution has been made, but in reality, still a lot has to be done. And the allocation towards various social welfare schemes has also come down, affecting states' health. Right. So, and the interstate water disputes, which is a perennial problem, and we know that we have so many tribunals, uh, like the Kaveri water, the Krishna water tribunal, and all, for settlement of these disputes regarding sharing of waters of various rivers of our country. And interstate water disputes, which of course is under Article 262, like the Mahadai issue between Goa and Karnataka, like the Mahanadi water disputes between Odisha and Chhattisgarh, requires cooperation from all quarters, centers, and the riparian states. So riparian means the states which are coming on way to that river, right, along the river. So what I'm saying is that there are several areas where cooperative federalism is yet to be strengthened in more ways than one. Right. Then strengthening federalism, in strengthening interstate council. Over the years, multiple committees have recommended the strengthening of the interstate council, where the concurrently subjects can be debated and discussed, and balancing center and the state powers, and there is far less institutional space for states. Interstate frictions are therefore a constitutional are there, and constitutional institutions like interstate council can be a way forward. So already we have the interstate council, and we have so many other such councils, like the northeastern council is there, which ensures cooperation between states and the center, right? But still they need to be strengthened. We have the zonal councils, we have these 5 zonal councils are there. And autonomy to states. The center should form the model laws which with provide enough space for the states to maneuver, and the center should give enough budgetary support to states, so that that their progressive projects and various plans, they can be executed uh, without any obstacle. And there should be least interference in the state subjects by the center, because we know that under Article 249, for example, Rajya Sabha can pass a resolution by special majority and empower Parliament to legislate on a subject given in the state list also. So, I mean, these instances do not behove up to a healthy cooperative federalism. And democratic decentralization is need of the hour of administration, and strengthening governments at all levels in true spirit. Power should be decentralized based on the principle of subsidiarity. Principle of subsidiarity basically means that there should be a clear-cut division and least interference at different levels of government. And then now briefly I will talk about this concept of competitive federalism. We have had this concept of cooperative federalism, but I told you in the beginning itself that competitive federalism is equally important and is the other side of the cooperative federalism. Why is it the other side? Because unless there is a healthy competition between states and the center, and between amongst different states amongst themselves, what would happen? That the spirit of cooperative federalism eventually would fail, because unless we grow and grow in a healthy way, and we have a healthy competition, right? Then I mean there would be little challenge, to retain for ourselves the fruits of cooperative federalism, right? So what I'm saying is that competitive federalism, therefore, is equally an important concept which should be emphasized and understood. Cooperative federalism cannot be fully appreciated without understanding the concept of competitive federalism as well. And competitive federalism is a concept where center competes with the states and vice versa, where the states also compete with the center and the states compete with each other. And it refers to relations between regional governments, for that matter, horizontal competition, call that, and between central and the regional governments, that is vertical competition, call that. So, the competitive federalism in India has, of late, particularly after Niti Aayog came into existence in 2016, has been, a great idea which has been going around, and it has manifested itself in a variety of positive results, right? So what I'm saying is that concept of competitive federalism is prompting and driving the Indian states to rush in for reforms and make an easy way, make incessant improvements in ease of doing business in their states and expedite the pending projects, clearances. So we can see the vibrant summits conducted by various states now easing of the compliance-related laws in states to attract foreign direct investment is a step in that direction. That states are now, because center is providing an overall enabling environment. Ultimately, the states have to attract FDI, which we call it the foreign direct investment. And there has been a healthy competition between the states to attract more and more of FDI. Gujarat has been the number one state in India which has attracted the maximum foreign direct investment for quite some time in a row now. And I will show you some figures that how Gujarat has outdone other states in this regard. But of course, Maharashtra and Delhi are also not far too behind. And what I'm saying is that in this context, it is relevant to note that the central government is only responsible to frame rules in this kind of free market, as generally states compete with each other to attract the funds. Right. So, an enabling environment is provided by the center. A union government devolves funds to the states on the basis of uses previously allocated funds, uses of what they have, what was allocated earlier, how they've utilized those funds. If they have not productively utilized, then the central government doesn't give funds, next time to those states to that extent, and thus the funds and investments flow in greater amounts to those states which have shown optimum use of previously allocated funds. So states are therefore duty bound in a way. If they want more funds next time, then they should show good performance this time, right? And that becomes necessary. Even otherwise, that a devolution of funds and handing out of various funds from the central government to the state governments in the form of various grants, that would depend largely upon the performance of the states. And this has also been the key plank and decisive parameter used by the planning used by the Finance Commission as well. And we have seen in the 15th Finance Commission report that many of the criteria based on the performance of the state, right, in a variety of ways, they were made the basis for various grants and aids. So this system ensures minimum wastage and maximum use of resources, and it strives to a healthy competition to improve the physical and social infrastructure within the states. And competitive federalism is also welcomed by industry, because eventually, healthy competition among the states will pave the way for more investment destinations in future. So in turn, it would lead to significant job creation and economic prosperity. So now some of the steps taken in India in recent times to give effect to this form of federalism include greater allocation of funds to those states that perform better on certain indices. For example, implementation of one nation, one ration card scheme, and ranking states based on development parameters like the Swachh Bharat ranking and ease of doing business ranking for states, and selection of cities to be included under smart city program. So various indices which have been devised by the Niti Aayog, and which are now states are made to compete with each other to perform better on these indices. That is a healthy sign rather of competitive federalism. And Andhra Pradesh, of course, has taken the lead even at Davos, Switzerland. and integrated and ameliorated some of the elements of the national brand India campaign with brand punchlines such as, make Andhra Pradesh your business hub. The states have been given more freedom to plan their expenditure, right? Now, if we look at the highest ever FDI, Gujarat tops inflows the financial year 2021. Now here, Gujarat has emerged. I already mentioned to you, it has emerged the top FDI destination, accounting for 37% of the total inflows out of all states in the country. Maharashtra 27%, Karnataka 13%, and are the second and the third in terms of investment. So you see the Gujarat is on the top with 37%, Gujarat, and followed by Maharashtra, that is 27%, and followed by Karnataka, that is 13%. So we can see that, there's a whopping difference. 37% is way ahead of 27%, and still way ahead of 13%. So Gujarat is actually taking the lead and is setting a great example for other states to follow. And India saw its highest ever inflow of foreign direct investment of $81.72 billion and this amount is much more than the FDI of several smaller countries put together. And year 2021, it's a 10% rise on year-on-year basis if we compare as per the latest data which is provided by the Department of Commerce, which is provided by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and department is DPIIT. And out of all states in the country, Gujarat has emerged as the top FDI destination, accounting for 37% of the total inflows. Maharashtra 27%, Karnataka 13% were the second and the third. And it may be noted that Gujarat has backed the top spot for fourth consecutive year in a row. And this is important to understand that Gujarat is not doing well only this financial year, right? That is ending 21, last financial year. But Gujarat is doing well for last 4 years in a row successively. That is a great and triumphant achievement of Gujarat. And the state saw total FDI inflow of $30.23 billion in last financial year. And this financial year, if you can make out, is a whopping increase in that. So what I'm saying is that almost 94% of the investment that trickled into the state was the computer hardware and software sector, said the state. Now, if you look at that, DPIIT, that is the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, has come up with this data, and we can see here that Gujarat is number 1, then Maharashtra, Karnataka, Delhi is number 4, and then Tamil Nadu, then even Jharkhand is not far behind. You see the Jharkhand is doing quite an impressive bit in this progress, showing progress on FDI front. Looking at this, looking at the fact that this state of Jharkhand, which was carved out of Bihar in 2000 itself, right now it's a relatively new state, but the way it is performing is really remarkable. What I'm saying, Jharkhand is performing remarkably well, right? And then Haryana is there, Telangana is also doing well, West Bengal is doing well, UP is doing well. So I mean, these are the states, but Gujarat, I mean, out of all proportion, the leader, Gujarat. And you see that Maharashtra area-wise is much larger, but Gujarat is showing the way. That means there is something. Some business gumption of Gujarat are even otherwise known to the whole world. Gujaratis are great business people, no doubt about it, right? And they're showing that thing here also, that FDI investment is highest for Gujarat, right? This is a remarkable thing, what I'm saying. And of course, as I said, Tamil Nadu and Jharkhand, they occupied the 7th and the 8th sports attracting investment. So, I mean, these figures are there from the ministry. Top investors in sectors we have understood. But no, which are the sectors? No, services sector, the highest, 16%. Computer software and hardware, 13%. telecommunications, trading, construction development, automobile, construction activity, chemicals, drugs and pharmaceuticals, hotel and tourism. So, I mean, the whole lot of sectors, in that descending order, one can see that 16%, the topmost is coming to services basically, and computer software and hardware 13%. So, these two itself, if you can remember, it would make up for nearly 29% of the total. And telecommunications and trading, of course, with the emergence of services sectors dominant, this is bound to happen. Then, of course, we can see the construction activity and the computer software, hardware, and a whole lot of other, these. Now, what are the measures undertaken by states to attract funds in recent times? Gujarat now issuance of VAT in 1 day, submission of inspection report within 72 hours, online system of luxury and entertainment tax, and environment and pollution related consents. Maharashtra has done its bit, GIS mapping of land banks and processes cut from 7 to 3 and time reduced from 67 days to 15 days for electric connection, and self-certification of 16 labor laws. Madhya Pradesh now factory licenses with 5-year validity and environment related inspection reports within 72 hours. Uttar Pradesh has also done quite a bit of easing out the business ease of doing business. Online system for single window regarding various clearances set up. Online consent management system of application filling is set up, and submission of inspection reports under various labor acts within 72 hours. You can see the whole lot of measures which have been taken. So finally, though we can see that the general atmosphere in recent times in competitive federalism is positive, and there are still some hindrances which prevent from realizing true success of competitive federalism. For example, some states have better infrastructure and expertise, and this could further add fuel to the inequality that exists between different regions of the country. Some areas are highly advanced and some are highly backward. So this kind of inequality doesn't behove for a united and for a great nation like India. So that inequality between different regions should be reduced to the extent possible by taking a variety of measures which are necessarily called for. And a race towards motivated and accelerated development by excessive competition might not be the best interest of the states. And for example, tribal displacements and greater level of pollution, etc., all these aspects must also be looked into. And the ranking framework of the central government is also not beyond question. Some have alleged bias in that, and there's a need for institutional mechanism that important decisions are appropriately discussed with the states and then taken. So eventually, competition, obviously, competition alone cannot give the best results. It is competition with cooperation. So competitive federalism and cooperative federalism together, that will drive the real change. The real change will come about only through that, and there has to be a balance between cooperative and competitive federalism, as we can make out. And in this regard, an institutional mechanism must be evolved, and an institutional mechanism must be evolved where important decisions are appropriately discussed with the states to ensure that no state is left behind in the development paradigm. So students, that's enough for the day, and thank you so much for being with the talk. My name is Vishrut Abhinna, and please follow me up and join Unacademy platform as early as possible.